all of them existed, and it's not just myth or rumor. Greek gods, Hindu gods, all gods in relief. Weave a magic tapestry of spiritual belief. All of them have been here, part of spiritual decorum, and all of them are aspects of a complex cosmic forum.
It doesn't matter if you're Christian or if you're Muslim or Hindu. Your horizons need to open to a universal view. The dynamics of change in an endless cosmic sea. All need to be a part of your mind's reality. There's more than one intrusion when you finally chase the odds of groups in competition in the pantheon of gods.
Expect the unexpected if you peer beyond the veil. Those spiritual anomalies your senses will assail. Look at all realities of spirit if you dare. Remember, organized religion may not take you there.
Roof of Broadcasting Building. I'm speaking from the roof of Broadcasting Building, New York City. The bells you hear are ringing to warn the people to evacuate the city as Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the north. Hutchison River Parkway is still kept open for motor traffic. Floyd bridges to Long Island hopelessly jammed. All communication with Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Boy, that storm. I got to wait till this goes away. Anyway, you're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. You can check out our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Our guest tonight is Tom Davis, and James is out there in the background eating his sugar frosted flakes like always. Anyway, Tom, here's my whole take on this, okay? I don't think the aliens are here to help us at all. Okay, I don't. They might be watching what's going on, but it's for their own whatever curiosity. I do think there is aliens out here that basically have other motives. Okay, maybe it's sharing technology. Maybe we're no more than cattle, and that's why we have a lot of people, vanishing worldwide each year with no trace. That is scary. And then on top of that, they're not helping us. Okay, our world is falling apart, and maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want our planet to be the way it's going to be, for they can come over and land here and inhabit our planet. I just sometimes think that may be the motive. You know what? And when it comes to politicians right now, it's too many strange things going on. You had the release of the Nimitz in 2004. It just popped out a year ago of the two, fighter pilots, chasing a UFO. And then the one in 2017, it got released. And then the Navy says, yes, UFOs are real. And I tried to find who it was. A government official spoke up a couple weeks ago, but it was on the internet, and I can't find it all. He said these aliens that's out there are not friendly towards man. Okay, well, then all of a sudden that was on a news blurb, and then that's totally non-existent now. But I look at it this way, that maybe they do like humans, and a lot more than we even realize. Now, we had also the Secretary of the Air Force last year say the next war will not be a ground war. Our next world war will not be a ground war. It'll be in space. Then our president makes a joke. It says, maybe I should create a space force. A few months later, he was serious about it. And who gets it? Okay, the Air Force don't get it. The Army doesn't get it. The Air Force does get it in a way because they had their budget ripped, which really upsets me because right now there's a base in Alaska. It's very important. It deters the Russian bombers coming into our territory. They have a boiler. It's about ready to break down. If it shuts down, they have to close the base down. They don't have the money now because the money was siphoned, to build a wall. And, that part upsets me because the military is being stripped, but the Navy isn't being stripped. But the Navy is now the new home of the Space Force. It's a lot of strange things going on. And then we have all this political stuff going on and on to the point where you can't go a day without seeing something about Trump, seeing something about, the Democrats and the Republicans basically thumbing their thumbs up. It's scary. Now, I'm going to go back years ago. My dad had a good friend. My dad served in World War II. He served in Korea. And while he was waiting to be discharged in Korea, he became friends with a guy who, turned out to be later on James Gardner, the Rockford Files, Maverick, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he would come up and visit my dad every summer, or my dad would go to California for a few days and visit when he could afford it. And I didn't know who this guy was. And then when I got older, I started watching, Maverick, reruns of Maverick on TV at that time. And I go, that's my dad's friend. So I asked my dad, I said, hey, Dad, is that your friend that comes here? And he goes, yeah, he's an actor. And I got to know James pretty well because every summer he'd come down and see my dad. And, we became somewhat friends because of my dad. I was really infatuated with Ronald Reagan, big time. And I said, is there any way, James, that you could, I could talk to, because he said that was one of his best friends was Ronald Reagan. I said, is there any way I could talk to Ronald Reagan? He goes, well, give me a chance and I'll see what I can do. I figured he would blow it off. Several weeks go by, I get a phone call, and it's from the White House. And at that time, Ronald Reagan had a show for young people. I was not young at that age, but I wasn't old. I was like in my 19 or 20, something like that. And I get the phone call, and here's Ronald Reagan. And they put me on to talk to him on a once a month national talk show. And I asked a couple questions, and he answered. And then I didn't hear nothing more. That was the end of it, and I didn't think anything of it. A couple of weeks go by, I get a phone call from the White House, and it was Ronald Reagan. And I talked to him like 2 or 3 times. And, he told me how he started out in radio, how he started out in, then into movies and political and all that stuff. I asked him because, at the time, the Seattle Times was always bringing up articles about, maybe war with the Soviet Union, like doomsday type of thing. I think, Tom, you remember that at that time frame. And,
oh, yeah.
And I asked him about Star Wars, and he just kind of went quiet for a second, and I said, well, is that to protect us against the Soviet Union? And he goes, well, no, it's to protect us against them out there. And then he wouldn't talk anymore about that. And I didn't think anything of it till about a year ago, and I remembered the conversation so vividly, and it hit me what he was talking about. It was the Star Wars originally probably wasn't so much to protect us against the Soviet Union. It was to protect us about something out there. Now, he was really concerned about aliens, and the threat of aliens. I got a funny feeling. Now, I could be 100% wrong, but so far I've been very right about the tariffs, what's going to happen to our economy. And James, I've been very boisterous about that for the past year.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
I got a funny feeling all this stuff that's going on, the wall, the political thing, and all this crap that keeps turning up day after day after day is to keep our minds off of something that might be coming down on the road.
Absolutely. It's a huge distraction. It's a distraction, and it's been socially engineered.
Yeah, they don't want us to know what's going to happen, and when it happens, it'll be too late.
Now, they know exactly what they're doing. That's my opinion. And I'm going to add something to what you said. I was talking to you about that retired U.S. Navy intel officer. He told me an awful lot over the years. And one of the things that he said to me, you and I talked about this the last time I was on your program, was I was paying attention when Trump said, well, I'm thinking about, doing a U.S. Space Corps, Space Force, military force out in space. And he was joking, and then, like you said, he got serious. Well, I was told how many years ago, at least 30 years ago, that was already in existence, and that the U.S. Navy ran it, and that they had craft that were 100 years ahead of anything that you could imagine. And you and I talked about this. I had that friend of mine over in Eastern Washington said, hey, you want to have some fun? Let's put on. He had 2 pair of infrared night vision goggles. And up there in the summertime, you can see the Milky Way. It is crystal clear. It's absolutely beautiful. Those stars just hang over your head. So he said, put a pair of these on and look up and tell me what you see. And I went, okay. And I won't repeat exactly what I said, but I saw these things making like right-hand turns, out beyond the stratosphere that would kill anybody in a conventional aircraft. You can't do things like that. And there were a lot of them, and they were maneuvering. So I think that, there's definitely something going on, and I will add one more thing to that. I find it interesting that the problems that you had and the problems that I had with, I'll put it this way, effluvia attacking us.
Oh, yeah.
I think everything happens for a reason. And I think that, like I said, Gary, your program, although I know it's billed as entertainment, and it's extremely entertaining, but it's also an expose, because you have people on your show that talk about everything from Bigfoot to little people to unseen forces. And what it does is it creates a question mark in people's minds who haven't been exposed to that to start thinking about that which they haven't thought about before and going, wow, there's aspects of reality out there that I didn't think of. And gee, maybe this is a huge distraction, and maybe I'm going to tune in and listen to more of this. And, there are places and things that really don't appreciate that sort of thing. They don't want the truth out there. And whether people like it or not, and they don't have to, we have this little thing that the Founding Fathers instilled called the First Amendment, which I am a big supporter of. You have the right to have those people on. God bless you for doing that. And I think that any time that you can get anybody on to talk about any of the things that you talk about, you're doing the world a favor.
Well, thank you. I like Bruce Maccabee was on, again, you mentioned like these infrared binoculars. I took a 10-year break at one point, from 1990 to 2000 out of radio. I just got burned out. And I took a job as a district manager for a couple camera stores. And we used to import from Czechoslovakia and Russia infrared military binoculars. And, I took a pair home. And back that time, they were selling for like $2,900, so they weren't cheap. And
no, they're not.
Well, back then. And I got tired of looking at the neighbor's cat and dog at night, where I lived at the time in Tacoma. So I kind of all of a sudden decided I'm going to look at the sky, and I saw what you were describing. I saw things coming to a dead stop, and then zigzagging like a 90 degree or at a 45 degree or some weird angle and shoot really fast. Now, I was so infatuated with watching that, I got a hold of the director of the observatory up in Puyallup, Washington at the time, and I told him about it. And, he kind of, well, I don't see anything like that with our telescopes. And I said, no, seriously, come and borrow a pair of these over the weekend and tell me what you think. And he was kind of reluctant. He didn't, he figured I was just blowing something out of where. But he did come in. He took a pair home. And he said on Monday when he came in, I want a pair. And I said, well, I have to special. I don't care. I'll prepay it. I want